Hello and a very warm welcome to our episode 3 of Emotions. Today is gonna be a session in which I'll be talking about anxiety. And since anxiety has been one of the prevalent things which almost every other person is going through these days, anxiety is become so common these days that it's as common as it gets. It's contagious. That's one of the bad things it has, and it's something which we just cannot run away from. It remains a part of us no matter what we do, no matter where we go. It is something that invariably lives within us. We can't really help it much. All we can do is to accept it. But the moment we accept it, it starts to get overwhelming. It unleashes a big cycle which is vicious, and it just drains our energy to an extent that it's just too consuming at times. Dealing with anxiety is not something which as easy as it seems, but the truth is that it's based on just a very few basic rules. And these basic rules, they are not really rules, but just being aware of our presence, just being aware of our emotions, thoughts, and taking one thing at a time. So, in today's session entirely, I'll be taking on a few things. Starting from anxiety, we'll talk about grounding, the anchors which we can use, and then we'll be touching upon unattended thoughts and what's the impact of mindfulness and how we can improve our daily living by not really solving but yes getting over. It's not about finding the solution but getting past the question. We grow till an extent that we no longer have to answer the same question. All right, so grounding is one of the things which one can do to deal with anxiety. Grounding is a sense that gets us to the present moment. Getting to the present moment is done by engaging our senses. When our senses they get engaged in the moment, which things which are here, things we can see, things we can touch, we can feel, we can smell, we can taste. That defines or rather determines our surroundings, and once we connect to those surroundings, they become a part of our being. And once we are focused on our surroundings, we are grounded to the present moment. And this grounding helps in a great extent in dealing with anxiety, especially when it peaks. So it is generally said the rule of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We may get five things we can see, four things we can touch, three things we can smell, two things we can feel, and one thing we can taste. This tasting is one of the strongest anchors which we can connect onto. This thing of tasting something or seeing a lot of things, these five things we can see, one thing we can taste, or something we can smell, this gets us to the present moment. Because our senses, we are engaging our senses. Once our senses are engaged, we are anchored here. One of the few very basic exercises for grounding is breathing. Breathing is one of the very basic exercises, and it is something that stays with us 24 by 7. In meditation, this is practiced as well. It is just focusing on our breath because this is happening right in the moment, right here, right now. We just connect to our breath. The moment we connect to our breath, we are connecting to the present moment. And that opens a gateway for us to be present and to address what is there for us in the present moment and not what's going on in the head or what's really draining us out at the emotional level. Generally, anchors, they are developed. An anchor is something which we work. We go to that anchor. We invoke that particular we invoke that particular anchor. For example, I'm feeling anxious, so I'm in the middle of an interview and the interviewer asks something which is not so pleasant. I'm bound to have a little anxiety. So what I'm going to do is just to focus on my breath. My focus, when it comes to my breath, it soothes my emotion. It soothes my emotion, as breathing is a continuous, it's a regular practice that goes on. Focusing is just like a muscle. It gets stronger the more we use it. And the stronger it gets, the more strongly, the more better we can invoke that. Coming to the breath, it clears the mind. It soothes the emotion, because one thing which is very basic for thinking and feeling is we cannot unthink or unfeel something. We either think something or we don't, or we are just not thinking about it. But there's no thing as not thinking. Unthink, we cannot unthink. All we can do is to think about something else or to feel something else. And to make this happen, we focus our thoughts, our emotions, we engage them with something else. And in this case, that something else happens to be our breath, for which we are talking about breath as an anchor. And talking more about anxiety, like why it happens, this is an outcome of misalignment of our thoughts and emotions. Anxiety are nothing but unattended thoughts. We know that these thoughts are not pleasant for us. If they are developed in our psyche, if they are grown in our subconscious mind, they are bound to give us pain, or they are bound to make us uncomfortable. They are uncomfortable by nature. But despite that, we are bound to connect to them because we let go of our control over our thoughts. This happens due to the emotional muscle which controls the emotion, which tries to, which engages with the thoughts, loses its control. And the thoughts, they just start to get unattended. And once the thoughts are unattended, they just go about building stories. They just think about any and every possible thing that they can think of. It's just like the permutation and combination, like 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, let's just think about it. Something is going to go wrong. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that can go wrong. So the thoughts are bound to think about all of them. That's how when the emotions lose their control. This happens not because the emotional muscle is weak. It mostly happens because it gets weakened by fatigue. Fatigue happens because we are overusing it. Because thinking and feeling, they are bound to have a limit. Every muscle has. So does the heart. Like, it's a cardiac muscle and it works continuously, but the process of thinking and feeling, they have a limited sense of strength. The more we work on it, the more it gets better, but rest is paramount. There has to be a time when our thoughts, when our emotions, they are bound to get tired. When they are tired, they lose control. All we can do is give them proper rest. Giving them rest means there has to be a time during the day or during the week when we are disengaging them, and this is usually done when we are in a safe space. For example, it's Sunday morning and I'm sitting in my garden just relaxing, gazing at the flowers, gazing at the trees, enjoying the sunlight. So right at that time, I will not think about my work. I will not think about any of my pursuits, any of my goals. Not that I'm not concerned about them, they are my life, I am concerned about them. But for just that, for some time, I'll engage with the nature. That engagement with the nature is gonna let that load. This recharging of the emotion is necessary. We gotta build our strength just like we do in weight training. We break our muscles in the gym, we feed them with the food, and they are built while we sleep. So the muscles are built while we rest them, while we are making them rest. So our thoughts and emotions. They too are muscles. We don't see them, but they are very evident. So this comes the concept of mindfulness, where we are giving ourselves a chance to be present and not being engaged with so many thoughts and emotions which keep pulling us from all the sides at the same time. So once that is not happening, we tend to get relieved. That relief is going to give us rest and we will feel better. So one of the most pertinent things when that crops up in anxiety, that oh my god, this is important, I just can't let this thing be. The point is, you don't have to let anything be just like that. The entire point that if you're feeling it, it's important, and it is very important, and it needs to be addressed. There is no one else who can tell or who can judge the importance or who can misjudge the non importance of a particular thought or emotion or action. If we have a thought, if we have an emotion, it is important to us because that's what is making us. That creates the sense of our being. If I'm not feeling good on a certain day about certain thing, because that is I gotta give it importance because no one else is going to do that for me. Giving that importance to that particular thought, to that particular emotion, may demand us to be strongly taking a stand that no, I have to do this. Taking my time out of some other thing, but it is gonna require a lot of effort. But this is the true sense of self care. The true sense of self care, that yes, I care for my emotions. The next time my emotions are gonna show up, I can look them in their eye and say, I care for you. I care for my thoughts. I care for my emotions. So be patient. I am gonna come back to you. I am with you. I'm not abandoning you. Because when emotions and thoughts they are unattended, they are abandoned, they revolt. And they always revolt at the time when we are weakest. This revolt happens because the moment our focus goes off them in suppressing them, they just crop up. And this volcano, when it bursts, it is never easy to handle it. It takes a toll on our health, it takes a toll on our day, like how our day goes, takes a toll on our work, our relationships, everything, just about everything. It happens in a cascading effect that I can't help it, but this is bound to happen because I've been abandoning my emotions for a very, very long time and now they're bottled up. And now they're just gonna blow up like a champagne and they'll be all around. Now, champagne is done in celebration. Now, suppose if that champagne is not something which is a pleasant thing, it's gonna just ruin the whole room. It's gonna ruin the surroundings. That embarrassment, to avoid that embarrassment, a person suppresses. And that suppression causes anxiety. This anxiety gets to our brain, it gets to our nerves because we have to be active 24 by 7 suppressing that anxiety. We are constantly onto it that okay, you just we take a stick and we are after our emotions like okay, you don't dare you come out, dare you come out, dare you come out. But the day they do come out, they get the better of us. To deal with this, we what we need to do is we need to take one thing at a time. We need to take our thoughts and emotions seriously, but at the same time, we got to take them one by one. It's just like a queue. There may be a very long queue and it may take years to get that queue sorted, but yes, it is going to take years to get it sorted. It's not as easy. If there's a queue which was built over a span of 10 years, we can't expect that queue to go away in merely 10 days. Emotions work a lot differently than thoughts. Thoughts are probably, or rather, they are possibly the fastest ever thing that a human can experience. Second fastest is light, fastest are thoughts. There is no limitation to their speed. They can just go to places and they just travel, they work really, really fast. Emotions, they are relatively slower, rather quite slower. So while we are dealing with our emotions, we gotta be very, very slow. It takes time and it's gonna take its own time. We can't control it. We can't do anything about it but be with them, accompanying our emotions by ourselves, just being with them that yes, I feel this and I accept this. That yes, I'm feeling it. That's all we need to do. That if I'm feeling bad on a particular day, yes, I am feeling bad. And there is no reason for that. It doesn't have to be. I'm feeling bad because there is something, because I have all the right to feel that way. Just being with that emotion and getting to the root of what is causing it. Once we get to the root, this root has the key to open it and also get to know that what is this emotion asking us to do. Behind every emotion, there's a need, and behind every need, there is a desire for survival. That I want to win, I want to live, I want to be happy. This craving for happiness, merely craving, isn't life, but the pursuit of happiness is. Going after happiness never really works because happiness always lives within us. The moment we touch upon our true selves, the innermost emotions, the moment we touch upon them, they open up the treasure to happiness, the treasure to our true happiness. We address them, they tell us the needs, we get to know what is that, what we desire, what we truly need to be happy. And they are not very big and lavish things, they are merely very tiny and very small needs. These are merely very small needs that keep telling us that you gotta be cautious for your emotions, you gotta be taking care of your emotions because they are important. They are very, very important. They are important just because we are feeling them. And this is truly the sense of self care. Everything, like when it comes to a very small emotion, many a times it happens that at the level of thought, one may tend to dismiss it. That, okay, come on, how can you feel? How can you even feel that way? Well, that's not the truth. If you're feeling that, thought is a lot different from what emotion can be. Both are existing in a different plane and they are very much connected. They are very, very much interlinked. They both live inside us, but they work at different pace. Their pace determines the speed of our lives. It's just like a clock inside us that keeps on going. The thought is faster. Emotion is a relatively slower clock. It works very slowly, it works very patiently, but it works very strongly as well. Whenever there's an emotion, it tends to overpower almost every thought. The reason anxiety tends to get the better of almost each one of us until we are ready to help ourselves to get out of it. It's merely by taking one thing at a time. This is just I'm concluding today's discussion, which is we can take two by grounding. We can come to the present moment, talking about the not letting our thoughts to go unattended, being with our emotions. being with them, supporting them, and making our emotions feel attended, and letting us know that each emotion, each thought is important just because we are feeling them, that setting the tone of self care. And yeah, so that's about it. That's about for today. And I really thank my viewers for today for watching this video. Thanks a lot. And I would wait for your feedback. And also, if there are any questions which you want to post, or you can come go to the comment section, and I would really appreciate your comments, and I would really appreciate your questions if there are any. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care.